Carlos Sainz has been rumoured to be making a very interesting and rather controversial transfer to Mercedes, and it seems like Toto Wolff has pulled the cards on this transfer after all. With how the situation looks with Max Verstappen and Kimi Antonelli, it seems like there's an opportunity for Sainz to remain at the top of his racing career without having to work on a project like Audi. But the question is whether he and Mercedes can agree on common terms, and who would lead the team, considering the fact that Carlos won't settle for anything less than the #1 role in a squad. It goes without saying that Carlos Sainz's future has been one of the hottest topics on the grid, and for all the right reasons as well. The 3-time race winner has been long related to the Brackley-based squad, more precisely ever since the 7-time world champion has left the team and took his place in Ferrari. However, with Kimi Antonelli being one of the hottest young prospects in F2 that is being closely monitored by Mercedes, it was long believed that he'll be setting foot in the Brackley-based squad sooner rather than later. Now, with Wolff's statement that he doesn't want to burn out the Italian wonder kid, as well as with Alonso signing a contract with Aston Martin, it's safe to assume that Sainz's future with Mercedes could be the best scenario for the Spaniard after all. The rumours around the paddock are circulating, and with Sainz saying that all of his good options are still available, it's safe to assume that Mercedes belongs in one of these two options. Even though Sainz denied that he's ghosting Audi because he waits to see how the situation will develop in Mercedes and Red Bull, this is a strong belief of Valtteri Bottas, who's one of the drivers that's under threat from Sainz's direct decision, because if these terms do not work out for the smooth operator, he might be forced to accept a role in Audi and therefore kick Bottas out of the team. When talking about the future of the Mercedes seat, more precisely from 2025 onwards, Wolff admitted that while the priority will be put on Verstappen, it's not the only driver on the grid that the Austrian is looking at. Furthermore, he added, "I think we've talked about all the possibilities. I want to be fair to these guys and not make it look like we're playing chess with humans, because we're not doing that. I think we want to take our time, see where Max's thinking goes, and at the same time we're monitoring the other drivers. Sainz was very strong in Miami again, and that's why we're a little bit in observation mode at the moment." Well, there is no doubt that Mercedes will take their time with choosing the next driver alongside Russell. And while Wolff was kind of rushed into this decision by Hamilton's move, there is definitely freedom for him to wait out and pick the best possible driver. Obviously, we know that would be Verstappen, and while Wolff praised that the internal power shift in Red Bull would be enough for Max to choose another environment, that's very unlikely to be the case after all, because Verstappen himself said he's extremely lucky and happy with where he is with the team, which does not absolutely reflect the morale that's present in the team. Apart from monitoring Sainz's performance, Wolff has already tested out a couple of drivers that he feels would be a good replacement for Hamilton, such as Antonelli and Mick Schumacher, who've been praised a lot for their work on the W13 and the W14 behind the scenes on the simulator, being the reserve driver of the squad. It would be interesting to see whether Wolff would be ready to put his money where his mouth is, because he's been lobbying a lot for Mick on the other teams, but now that he has the opportunity to put him in the seat, it's not looking very likely for the young German driver to gain a spot in the Brackley-based starting squad. This is where Sainz's experience and fierce mentality come in handy. He's shown that when put under pressure, he can deliver extraordinary results, although it's worth mentioning that in the past 2 races, he's been delivering subpar results compared to his teammate Leclerc. Be that as it may, Sainz has found himself in some interesting waters and has openly admitted that, similar to Mercedes, he won't be rushing with his decision because some of the best options he has on the table are still open, and he would want to see where things end up with the rest of the parties involved before making his own decision. When talking about his future, Sainz went on to say, "I won't be forced to choose to race for a team with less potential for success in 2025 because my best options are still open, which in my opinion is a positive thing and obviously requires some time given the market situation. It will take some time for everyone to form an opinion and make decisions, but the right options are still open." Now, according to Valtteri Bottas, the Spaniard knows exactly what he's doing because he understands his worth, and it wouldn't be the best decision if he decided to spend the time of his career driving for Audi, a team in which he would have to drive for 4 years before he gets the opportunity to win races and fight for championships. And that's not a guarantee either. Audi have made their first step by signing Hülkenberg and bringing the German presence to their team that they were so desperate about. And although their ultimate goal would be to bring Sainz alongside the experienced Haas driver, it might not be all up to them, which is why they applied some pressure on the smooth operator so that he would be forced to make a decision a bit sooner than expected. When talking about Sainz's future, Bottas went on to say, "Everyone wants to race with the best team possible. Surely Sainz is trying to sign for Red Bull. The second option would be the second fastest car that's available, which would be Mercedes. And surely he's also negotiating a contract with Audi. It'll be very important to see how the pieces fit together in the coming weeks." But what's really mind-boggling for Sainz is that the decision to join Red Bull or Mercedes is not depending on him. Even though Mercedes has a free vacant seat from 2025 onwards, the conditions that they've offered to the three-time race winner are not exactly what he was hoping to get in return. A 1+1 contract in which his seat would be under threat from 2026 onwards. As for the Spaniard, he's looking for a contract in which at least 2 years are guaranteed under a certain team. And therefore, this could be a massive blockade for both teams, but a blockade that could benefit Mercedes much more than Sainz, given the fact that they do have other drivers to choose from, which means all they have to do is wait out for the rest of the 2025 silly season to pan out exactly how they would want it. Of course, this means risking losing Sainz to a team like Red Bull or Audi, but don't forget that Wolff is still convinced he could bring Verstappen on board, something that's long been believed to be a science fiction scenario due to the close relationship that Verstappen has with the Austrian side of the team. But as Wolff said, after the internal struggle in the team and with Horner remaining at the helm of Red Bull, anything is possible and we should not be rushing to make decisions based on performance alone. What seems to be a great challenge right now is the performance that Mercedes is showing on the grid, which means they're not impressing Verstappen enough and they might be smart to work on a driver who does not have any other way than to sign for them, which is definitely the profile that Sainz is fitting in. The Spaniard is without a seat from 2025 onwards, and although he's secretly hoping to replace Perez or even better Verstappen, it's very unlikely that Red Bull would get rid of their duo that's scoring great points consistently and managed to finish P1 and P2 in the Drivers' Championship, a feature that wasn't even possible throughout the days of Vettel and Webber. With all this in mind, the situation between Sainz and the future of his career is still very uncertain. But what's very well known is that it will be fixed in the next couple of weeks, and it'll be interesting to see whether or not he'll wait for another piece of the puzzle to fall before he makes up his mind about the next destination for his services. So, where do you think Sainz will end up in 2025? And more importantly, do you think that it would be the right choice for him to go to Mercedes? Let us know in the comments down below.